What's up guys, John here and welcome to Baltimore Retro Gaming. And today we're going to talk about another shooter, a pretty great shooter for the Sega Saturn, and that game is Darius Gaiden. Now, before I get into this game, I just want to say this about the whole Darius series. Now, I have most of the Darius games across all platforms, you know, from PS4 to PC Engine, okay? I think I'm missing like a couple of the, there's like some demos and like some of the rarer games that you had to like mail order for in Japan. I don't have those, unfortunately. I probably have the ROMs for them downloaded somewhere. But anyways, guys, my favorite Darius game in the entire Darius series, and this has been my favorite game since like the 90s, and that's G Darius on the PlayStation 1. I always praise this game. It is my favorite game in the Darius series. Now, the thing about this game, the kind of the gimmick that really got me into this game is the fact that you can, instead of killing your enemies, you can kind of capture them and use their weapon systems against them to power yourself up. So there's a few other shooters that do that, but this game did it the best. So this is my favorite Darius game. Now, for years, people have praised Darius Gaiden on the Sega Saturn, and I've had it for years and played it, and I always thought it was good. You know, I never thought it was great. I never thought it was like Hyperduel on the Sega Saturn or anything like that. But, you know, recently a lot of people have been talking about this game, at least in my area, and they're like praising this game. And I'm like, you know, what are these people seeing that I'm not? So, you know, lately I've been really playing this game a lot in the evening time, and I'm starting to see what they're talking about. I just never gave this game a chance before. But anyways, guys, Darius Gaiden on the Sega Saturn. Let's check it out. Okay guys, so this is my copy of Darius Gaiden, and I have this in a retro protection case because, like I say about all my shooters and any of my more obscure games, especially anything for the Saturn or the Sega CD, I always want to use these cases. It just keeps them safe. So one of the things I want to do is, if you notice, if you watch my videos, I always showcase the games. The reason I do that is because all the games I'm showing you are legit. And for anyone that buys a game really cheaply or questions it and wants to know if it's real or not, hopefully you guys can help use this as a guide to kind of determine if your game is legit or not, at least to a certain extent. And that's kind of important for this game because I don't know if you noticed this case. This is actually an Acclaim case. Okay, the Acclaim cases are different than the cases that came out on the early PS1 games, the Sega CD games, and the Sega Saturn games. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is my copy of Darius Gaiden. Now you can notice this insert right here is different. It kind of looks like carbon fiber-ish texture to it. Now when I first got this game years ago, I thought that I didn't know that repros existed as Saturn games. I didn't know about pseudo Saturn. I didn't know about any of that. But I thought that at least just this case was a fake case or whatever. And I kind of made a little bit of a stink about it. And then I felt stupid because, come to find out, all the Acclaim games, at least most of them, came in cases like this. So another thing you want to look for in your Saturn cases, if you question if it's legit or not, at least on the artwork, around these seams right here, there's going to be perforated edges that you can kind of tear off. It's going to be here, and it's going to be here. You're going to be able to see these edges now. If it's just a printed piece of paper, unless they got a serious factory going on reproducing games, they're not going to be able to reproduce that same perforated edge. But this is a legit copy, and this is what your copy should look like. If you get a US copy, of course, the Japanese copy is going to look more like this. It's going to be in a jewel case. But both the games have awesome artwork on the front cover. I think that this is an amazing cover art for this game. And just overall, I think this game is amazing in general, at least now. I didn't years ago. But anyways, guys, that is my copy of Darius Gaiden for the Sega Saturn. Oh boy, Darius Gaiden on the Sega Saturn. I mean, where do I even begin? I guess the first thing I would talk about, and you know, you see this in a lot of shooters from Japan, a lot of the ones ported over here, some of it's cut out, but this game has a story in the beginning of the game. Now, I've never actually took the time to read all the text because when I play games like this, I just want to get in and start shooting stuff. But the fact that it actually added a little bit of story elements to the game is pretty cool in my opinion. Now, when you start the game, regardless of difficulty, you're going to notice that you're going to have 3 lives and 3 continues. And that's totally cool with me because some shooters and some games in general, when you change the difficulty settings, their idea of changing the difficulty is changing the amount of stock or the amount of lives that you have and the amount of continues that you have. In my opinion, that's not a real change of difficulty. A real change of difficulty is actually making the game harder, not making the game harder by reducing the amount of lives I can use. So fortunately for us, this game does not do that. It gives you 3 lives, 3 continues. Doesn't matter if you're playing on the hardest setting or the easiest setting. Now to reference Wikipedia and to give you guys a little bit of history behind the Darius game, at least this one. But Darius Gaiden, planned to be released as Darius 3, is an arcade shoot-'em-up game developed and released by Taito in 1994, and it's the 3rd arcade installment in the Darius series. Now, Darius Gaiden was ported to the Sega Saturn in 1995 and to the PlayStation in 1996. I'm assuming the PlayStation release was only in Japan. And it was actually ported to Microsoft Windows. And in 1997 through 2004, the game was ported to the PC by a few different companies. The Saturn and PC versions were released in Europe and North America by Acclaim and Interplay. And in 2006, it also saw another re-release on the PlayStation 2 as part of the Taito Legends Volume 2 series. Now, I just want to say this about that Taito Legends Volume 2 series. Guys, that is an amazing compilation of games made by Taito. You guys need that game in your PS2 collection. If you like arcade games or shoot-'em-up games, I mean, God, it's got so many great shooters, and it's got so many great Darius shooters, and it's like a $20 game, guys. I mean, I have a copy. As a matter of fact, there's a retro game store right up the street from me that's got a copy. I think they only want like $15 for it. It's complete. Anybody that watches my channel, that game collector, you're local. If you need that game, holler at me. I'll pick it up for you because somebody needs to be playing that game. It does not need to be sitting on a shelf in a retro game store. It needs to be in somebody's collection. And I'm almost passionate enough about that game to say I'd almost buy it and just give it away to somebody. That way somebody can appreciate it. But anyways, guys, yeah, it's that good. So one of the first things you're going to notice when you play this game, and it's not just Darius Gaiden, it's all the games in the Darius series. And I'm going to talk about the graphics here in a little bit. But one of the first things that you're going to notice graphically, at least about the visuals of the game, is that everything represents like underwater fish. It's aquatic. It's got a very, very strong underwater deep sea theme. And, some of the bosses that you fight, it kind of reminds me of like back in the 80s when I would go through. I had a friend that had like 1 million copies of National Geographic. His parents collected it. And I remember some of those National Geographic magazines had to deal with, deep sea fish and ocean. And I was always fascinated with the stuff that they would take pictures of underwater. And when I'm playing this game, a lot of the fish and a lot of the bosses and a lot of the enemies that I'm seeing in this game really remind me of those National Geographics that I used to read back in the day. So, in my opinion, the choice of subject matter that they chose for this game is absolutely excellent. And as far as the graphics go in Darius Gaiden, the Sega Genesis is one of those systems that looks terrible in composite, at least in my opinion. I don't think it looks really good in composite. It looks great in RGB, but composite looks terrible. Now, the Sega Saturn, in my opinion, now you guys might not agree with me on this, but I think the Sega Saturn looks great in composite. It's not that bad. Now, I know there's tons of ways to hook modern systems up, or not modern systems, modern TVs up to older systems, to retro systems. And I know sometimes it can be easy, sometimes it can be complicated. People want the best possible picture out of their system that they can get. And if all you have is composite, I think you're going to be okay. I played this game on like a 65-inch TV, so the screen was absolutely blown up on composite, and the game still looks great. Now, I have other ways of playing this game, to capture footage and things like that, but if all you have is composite, don't worry, the game will still look great. Even on a modern, big jumbo TV, you don't have to worry about it. At least in my opinion. You might be a stickler for graphics, but odds are if you're playing this retro stuff, you'll be able to deal with it. It's really not that bad. Now, the visuals in this game are absolutely incredible. More specifically, the parallax scrolling, okay? I've heard from many people, many YouTubers, a lot of people say that the Sega Saturn processed 2D sprites and parallax scrolling better than any other system. Apparently it's just a powerhouse for 2D graphics. Now, 3D graphics really don't run that well on the system. I can think of a few games that are pretty decent. Panzer Dragoon Saga being one of them for a 3D game on the Saturn. Now, although it looks very dated by today's standards, it's still playable. They just fit a lot of information across 4 different discs, so they spent a long time developing that game. And, the game, obviously, it didn't sell well, and it came out really late, and it's because they put so much time and effort into it. And it's a classic cherished by many, many people. But anyway, back to Darius Gaiden. So, the Sega Saturn, it's a powerhouse for 2D graphics. For all those people that have said that, and all the people that say that it is the premier system for 2D sprites, 2D graphics, better than the Neo Geo or whatever, I will absolutely agree with all those people, and I'd be willing to bet that all those people that said that about the Sega Saturn played Darius Gaiden, because my God, the parallax scrolling in Darius Gaiden is so good. There's times where it almost feels like it's 3D, like I'm playing a Nintendo 3DS or something. That's how detailed the parallax scrolling is. They absolutely knocked it out of the park. The visuals in this game are absolutely stunning. It blows away anything that came out around that time that Darius Gaiden came out. The developers, they knew what they were doing. They knew how to program on the Saturn. Now, I heard the architecture on the Saturn was very tricky for programmers. I don't know much about that. But man, they knocked it out of the park, guys. This is a beautiful, beautiful game. Now, there's many shooters on the Sega Saturn that look excellent. But just the fact that you got the parallax scrolling used in just the right way, you have the subject matter, you have the bright contrasting colors along with the subject matter. It's a perfect storm for a great game, guys. It really is. And I'm kind of ashamed to admit that it's taken me this long to really, really appreciate Darius Gaiden as much as I have. Again, I've owned it for a long time, and I've liked it for a long time, but I was never in love with it the way I am with G-Darius on the PlayStation 1. But, these past few weeks of me playing this game at night, it's starting to change me, and this is Darius Gaiden starting to become one of my favorite shooters on the Sega Saturn. And it's good the same kind of way that the Thunder Force series is good, or that Glay Lancer is good. It's a horizontal shooter, and I'm a big fan of horizontal shooters. And it's good in all the right ways, especially for a horizontal shooter. But yeah, so just to sum it up, the graphics look pretty good. Now, as far as the levels in this game, as far as I know from the times I've played this game, there are 7 levels. And it's very interesting how you navigate these levels. So after the first level that you complete, you're going to see something called a zone map. And according to the manual, it's broken down into 4 different zones, and they also have subzones underneath each zone. And the 4 zones are Planet Vitus, the Satellite Contrary, Satellite Weather, and Planet Darius. Now, there's 7 levels, but there's 4 zones in the zone map. I really don't understand how that works. All I know is that after every level, you're going to have a choice between 2 different levels. Now, when you see the end of the level 1 and you see the zone map, you might say, oh, after the second and third level, like everything doubles. You have 4 choices and then 8 choices or whatever. It's not like that. You can only choose 2 different places to go, or 2 different levels after every level that you complete, excluding level 1. Level 1 starts you off, and then you have a choice. And you have a choice until you hit level 7. Because after that, that's the last level, at least that I know of. If there's any extra material on this game, please let me know in the comment section. I would love to know, but not from what I've seen. So the fact that you have so many different levels you can choose from in this game, you have 2 after every level, and there's 7 levels. To me, that just gives this game a huge replay value, in my opinion. There's so much replay value in this game. The levels look so good, and like I was just talking about the parallax scrolling, as soon as I finished this, even last time I played this game, as soon as I finished it, I wanted to immediately do another playthrough and then play through each planet that I didn't play through the previous time. Now, you'd figure I would know this, but I'm not 100% sure whether the bosses are the same depending upon what level that you choose. I do believe they are different, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not going to say they all look the same, but they all kind of mesh together after you've played this game so many times. So I could do a bit of research and find out if the bosses in every level are different. And I think they are, but I could be wrong about that. So again, if anybody really knows this game like that, you know, are all the bosses in every level different? You know, please let me know in the comment section because I would really like to know. Now, let's talk about one of the most important parts about this game, and that is the weapon system. So just to sum it up, you're going to see these little, they look like shields, and they're multicolored. You're going to see like a red one, you're going to see a green one, you're going to see a blue one, and they all serve a different purpose. So according to the manual, you see you have 3, 6, it looks like there are 7 different pickups or power-ups that you can acquire in the game, 7 different kinds. You know, each one of those pickups, you know, if you collect, let's say you collect 2 or 3 or 4 green ones, that's gonna change something. So they all have a different requirement about how many you need to pick up, you know, before you reach that next level, whether it be a shield, whether it be a weapon system. So like I said, there's 7 of them. So the first one is the red one, and it will appear when you shoot down a flying red colored enemy. So you're going to notice that too. You're going to see like red enemies, blue enemies, and you're going to know that once you shoot them, because they're going to be different than all the other enemies around them, even though they look the same, they're a different color. That's how you do it. When you see those colored enemies and you're zoning in on a power-up, you need to kill that enemy so you can pick it up. So anyway, so the red ones, you collect 3 of those, it increases your red sub-tank, which I do believe increases your firepower. There's a green one. Now, when you collect 3 of them, it says that it's going to increase your bomb rank by 1 or your sub rank by 1. So it looks like all the green ones, you know, you need to collect 3 of them. Now the blue ones, you shoot down a blue enemy, you're going to collect a little blue shield, your armor will increase. Now on the blue ones, you got to pick up 5 of them to get that next level of armor. And that's really handy in this game because although you do have 3 lives, you don't necessarily die in one hit. If you have that shield going around you, you can take a little bit of fire before you lose a life. And that's pretty cool because in my opinion, that makes the game just a little bit more forgiving. The violet ones, I guess you find a violet colored ship. You can shoot them down and your black hole bomb stock will increase. So that's what the violet one does. It's pretty much just your screen clearing bombs. The silver one hides within the landscape, and it will appear when you shoot down the right colored ship. But the silver one will actually increase your bonus score. So I really don't think that would so much change the gameplay value of the game. But if you're one of those people gunning for a high score, you'll probably want to look for the silver ones. There's gold ones, and then there's one called Extend. The gold one, I really don't know what that does. Let's see. It says gold hides within the landscape. It will appear when your shots hit the right spot. This will destroy all the enemies on the screen. Okay, so the gold ones are pretty much like a bomb. So apparently if you pick that up, it's pretty much just the same as a screen clearing bomb. Now, I don't really recall picking up too many of the gold ones in the game, but apparently they're there. And there's Extend, and it hides within the landscape when you shoot down the right colored thing. You'll get more life. Okay, so your life increases when you hit Extend. Okay, so anyway, there's 7 of them. There's 7 different, I don't know if they're called shields, but they look like shields, and they affect different parts of the game, like your weapon system, your shield, you know, amount of life that you have, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but it's also at the same time, I guess it's kind of diverse. It gives you different things that you can gun for when you're playing through the levels. Now, the last 2 things that I want to talk about in Darius Gaiden are the controls and the difficulty. So the controls for this game, you know, they're great. They're great. Not really a whole lot to say there. The controls. Now, in some shooters, you can control the speed of your ship. You can make your ship move really quick. You can make it move really slow. This game, you cannot do that. But you don't need to. The speed of your ship is just right. You know, I hate when you move too fast because you run into stuff. And I hate when you move too slow because you can't dodge anything. But this game is just right. The controls are just right. The speed is excellent. And even if you could change the speed in this game, I'd probably just leave it the same because, like they say, you don't want to fix something that ain't broke. And as far as the difficulty setting, so guys, this is a shooter, okay? So I'm going to play through it on easy. And even on the easier settings, this game can get pretty challenging. Now, I can finish this game on easy. I'm almost at the point where I could finish it on normal. But that's cool. There's so many different levels, and the replay value on this particular shooter is so great that I don't mind getting my ass kicked left and right because that gives me just more of an excuse to actually play the game. So on normal, I'm almost at that point where I can play the game through on normal. Thank God for the shield power-ups you can get on this game. Like I said, it makes the game a little bit more forgiving. And without those power-ups, I don't think I'll ever be able to complete the game on normal. But one thing that I noticed, and this is a pretty cool, I'm gonna teach you guys a little something here that you might not know. Maybe you do, but so last night I used an action replay cart with this game. Now you might be thinking, well, John, that's not an RPG, and it's not even outside of your region. Why would you need a action replay cart? It's a NTSC U game. You got an NTSC U console. It's not an RPG. I don't even think you can save any data on the game if you wanted to, unless it's like a high score or something, but I don't even know if you can do that. So why would you need an action replay cart? Well, I would say to you, for all those that just said that, not an RPG, and, you're absolutely right. I'll 100% agree with you. But one thing that you can do with an action replay cart is you can enable cheat codes. So yes, the action replay cart is just like a Game Genie, pretty much. So when I put the action replay card in, I just went to the menu that said cheat codes, and although there's not a whole lot of games that I can enable cheats on my action replay cart, when I got the thing, it came with a few games that will allow me to enable cheats, and Darius Gaiden is one of them. Now, when you enable cheats on your action replay cart, they're going to vary from game and then game region. So if you have a Japanese copy of Darius Gaiden, you would have to load in a whole new set. I'm pretty sure, anyway, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure you would have to load in a whole new set of cheat codes for that specific game. And although I don't know how to do that, apparently there's ways to load cheats on these things. It's probably not that hard. I honestly never really dove that far deep into the action replay cart other than moving save data around. But again, it's just like a Game Genie. It's really cool. And what I did was I set the game on hard. I powered myself up, made myself invincible, and played through the game on hard just to see if I could notice any kind of bonus content. I was super tired when I did this, so I didn't notice any. But, again, guys, if any of you guys noticed, extra levels or anything cool that you can get if you complete the game on some of the harder settings, let me know in the comment section down below. I love learning about that stuff, and that gives me more of an excuse and a reason to kind of get really good at some of these games and play through them when there's like extra bonus content. Because I like that exclusive stuff. When I got to bust my ass and work hard and become a wizard at some kind of game, I want to be rewarded for it. So, if you guys notice anything like that, let me know in the comment section down below. So anyways, guys, this is an excellent game. Normally when I talk about shooters on my channel, I'm not going to show you guys any trash. I'm not going to show you guys a game that sucks, and I'm not going to dog it. Yeah, because I'm not a negative person. I have positive things to say, and I only want to talk about positive things. And Darius Gaiden is a very positive game, and it's not, although it is kind of pricey, it's not as expensive as some of those Japanese shooters on the system. And you can get a Japanese copy of the game and probably save a little bit of money. So, with that being said, if you own a SEGA Saturn, if you're a fan of arcade games or arcade shooters or shoot 'em ups, this is one that you're going to need to get in your collection. Because, guys, in my opinion, this is just me, Darius Gaiden is a must own. Okay, guys, so Darius Gaiden, you copping or what? Over here in the US, we didn't get a lot of shooters on the SEGA Saturn. I mean, we got a few. And this is one that thankfully we got that is excellent. Another great one that I could think of would be Galactic Attack. So obviously most of those games came out in Japan, but we did get one of the most solid shooters on the system in Darius Gaiden. Now let's talk about the price. Now when I bought this game, complete in box at the time, I recall paying about $30 for it. Now that was at a time when retro games didn't cost what they do today. I looked online, and there's actually a store near me that I think has a loose disc copy of this. I know most people probably want it complete. But you can find a complete in-box copy of Darius Gaiden on the Saturn right around $70 to around $100. At the $70 price point, I think this game is worth it. That's just me. I know some of you guys might not think so. You got to think about this. Newer first-party PlayStation 4 games, when they come out, they're $60, and they're not always guaranteed to be great. Why wouldn't you just pay an extra $10 and have an excellent game that you'll love to play? I mean, that's the way I look at it. So if I didn't have this game, yeah, I'd pay $70 for this game. So that's the price range, anywhere from like 70 to 100. If you want a new copy, if you can find it, I'm sure that would definitely reflect in the price. You might pay a couple hundred for a new copy. But again, like I said, I was able to use my Action Replay cart and utilize cheat codes that I actually had installed on the cart. Now, I don't know how to add the cheat codes or anything like that, but it pretty much just works as a Game Genie. Although you don't have to type the code numbers in, all you have to do is just highlight the cheats that you want to use, and that's pretty cool for just getting into the game. There is ways to add more codes to this, although I haven't really dove that far deep into it. I've just used this for save data, but yeah, this is something you can actually utilize with Darius Gaiden if you want those cheat codes. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Now, remember to like this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Any kind of shooters that you love on the Saturn, drop them in the comment below. Until next time, peace out.